Investments make an impact, whether they're positive or negative, all the time. The question is, what impact are we trying to accomplish?
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the DocWorking podcast. And we are going to jump right in and talk to our invited guest today about a topic that is really high up on the mind of most doctors, and that has to do with finances. And so I am so excited to have here today my good friend, Andrew Friedman of AJF Financials. Full disclosure, Andrew, I've known you for about 15 years now, and you have been my financial advisor for all this time. And there were very specific reasons why I decided to go with you as opposed to other possibilities. But I'm going to let you take it from there and talk about what sets you apart and your investing philosophy. So, Andrew, introduce us to you and to AJF Financial.
Well, I appreciate this opportunity, and thank you. First, I want to explain who we are and what we do. We are certified financial planners and a registered investment advisor. As certified financial planners, our job is to help clients create plans to mitigate various financial risks. As registered investment advisors, we manage our clients' investments. That's simple. The standard for all our client relations is as fiduciary. We put our clients' interests before our own. Service is at the heart of everything we do. And we're all well trained to put ourselves in our clients' shoes. And that is because we ask our clients what is most important to them, and we listen. We also advocate on behalf of our clients and engage with companies and investments when controversies or issues arise. Companies are not perfect, people run them. But if shortcuts are taken at the cost of any stakeholders, whether it's employees, community, the environment, the supply chain, and shareholders, we not only say something, but we work in concert with various shareholder advocacy groups to improve the corporate processes. It makes for better long-term investments, reduces all sorts of risks, including reputation risk, and most importantly, it empowers our clients that their money is making an impact.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. So you said something that was very kind of stood out for me. And there are many things that stood out for me in what you just shared with us, and that you listen to your clients, that you have what is called a client-centered approach. And so I wanted to ask you, if you could tell us a little more about that, what that means to you as a financial advisor.
Well, our business model and approach is focused on our client values, our client needs, and our client goals. Whether we're making client-specific financial planning recommendations to resolve retirement planning issues or managing portfolio risk with low-cost portfolio construction, we place great emphasis on our clients' education and transparent communication. As I said earlier, clients are empowered with their money. This we believe is a new paradigm for financial advisors that allows for clients to be partners in the process and not have it done for them or to them in many cases. I remember many years ago, the last time it happened was the worst thing in the world is having a client say, "Why would you put me into something like that?" And so our commitment is to be partners with clients and make sure that there's a process involved that they get what they want out of their investments and in this whole financial planning process.
So in your financial planning, you're talking about what the immediate goals are and what the kind of mid-range and long-term range goals are, with the client in mind, of course. Is that the gist of it? Would that be an appropriate summary, or how would you say it?
Yeah, I mean, clients are, everyone has goals, but everyone also has values, and everyone is looking to be able to do whatever they want to do with their money. They want their money to express who they are. What typically has happened in the past is clients leave it to their advisors and ask them to tell them what to do. Unfortunately, that model is really broken because it leads to the kind of reputation that the industry has at this point, whereas there's a lot of distrust. And the idea is trust. The idea is how do you create trust? Well, if you listen to clients and they tell you what's important to them and you give them what's important to them, that's how you create trust. So it's really a function of, it's really very simple. It really comes down to the client and what's important to them.
Mm-hmm. And I like that phrase to use the investment as a way of expressing who they are and what they want to be in the world, and how important that is, rather than just investing for investing's sake.
We live at different times. Mm. There's a lot of problems in this world, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that next, but it's we're all responsible for what goes on around us. And that's Why don't you ask me the next questions and I can go more into it?
No, I was like, okay, man, you're on a roll. Go for it.
You've asked me about what sustainability and ESG investing is about.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're living at a time when there are numerous systemic risks to the way we live on this earth, and the life we're accustomed to living, whether it's climate change or economic and social justice or viral epidemics or sufficient supply of fresh water. There are many groups of people and around the world whose life is going to be upended, especially those living on coastal areas. And what does that have to do with investing? Well, it has a lot to do with investing. The fact is that a lot of the problems we have today have been created by corporations. And the other part of it is that it takes everyone to make changes that will make a positive impact. Investments make an impact, whether they're positive or negative, all the time. The question is, what impact are we trying to accomplish? Now, we're not in any way looking to sacrifice returns for our clients, and we don't. In fact, we've outperformed all of the indexes for 1, 3, 5 years, and last year we blew away the performance numbers. So you could have good investments or bad investments in any area, whether it's ESG, sustainability, or anything else. It's just having good selection is important. But let's get back to these systemic risks.
Mm-hmm.
If we look at a corporation and we see that there's controversies or issues related to those companies, well, we will, as I said before, we'll engage on behalf of our clients as their advocates. And we'll say something, and we'll also press along with other shareholder advocacy groups to make change in those processes. Why is that important? Well, first of all, these are risks that are associated with the investments. If we find out that a company is buying jumbo shrimp from a company in Thailand that uses slave labor, that's ultimately, I mean, you may say as your investment, well, they're making money. Yeah, but that could also come back and bite you. And so we will say something, and we'll work with these shareholder advocacy groups to try to make changes.
Can you explain, what does ESG stand for?
Yes. So ESG so we do all the fundamental research that everyone else does. Everyone knows what that is, earnings and all these things. ESG is an additional level of scrutiny that we add on to any investments that we look at. And that stands for environmental, social, and governance issues. There are hundreds of data points that we look at with companies to determine if they have these kind of risks involved. And it's not the kind of risks, the kind of ESG criteria that from one company could be different from another. For instance, a financial services company may not have the environmental risks that a chemical company has. So there are more relevant issues for each company and each industry. And so we do all of that analysis to determine if the companies that we're investing in are companies, and when we make those investments, even after we make those investments, we determine whether they are taking risks that are threatening any of the stakeholders, whether it's the employee, community, supply chain, or the environment. So to bring this back, it used to be that that sustainability was really about the fact that we lived on a planet with finite resources, but we're not living that way. We're living like there's more than enough. Well, at some point, these resources come to an end. And a lot of the systemic risks we have today are just that. Whether it's fresh water supply around the world, it doesn't exist for a lot of people. So we get companies engaged in their own processes so they become better at what they do.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And so being able to direct those investments sends a message.
It's a very powerful message. Look, you've heard about the GameStop issue recently, where investors stood up to the hedge funds, and that's not quite that way, but it is what the ability of a group of people can do with regards to making changes. Now, for me, this started a long time ago. I back in college, in fact, I was attending the University of Wisconsin, and my first week as a freshman, I made an accidental turn and walked right into the middle of a sit-in that was getting the university protesters getting the university to divest from Coca-Cola and Chase Manhattan Bank because they were supporting the system of apartheid in South Africa. And so it struck me then, but I didn't know quite why, the power that money has to affect change and to make a positive impact. And it so happens that that whole movement to divest at that time was started by a financial advisor. So we have the ability in this industry and in concert with shareholders who care about that is their values, to see that their world around them is working. And when I ask clients what's important to them, it may just be that they want to see a better world for their family, their grandchildren. And if even if that's the case, well, it comes back to this. Investments do have that power, and you as investors have that power. It's just that advisors aren't necessarily going to ask you, and you aren't necessarily going to know unless somebody tells you.
Mm-hmm. And that's what I thought was interesting, because when we first met, that was back in 2006, 2007, you talked about that. You talked about governance and sustainability and ethics in investing. And I thought it was a kind of interesting idea. I didn't expect that, but it was right there.
It's a powerful tool, and it is becoming more and more prominent today, especially as we face you can't go anywhere. The conversation outside is not about how is your investment doing. The conversation outside is about can you walk safely someplace, or what segment of society is not getting taken care of. The interesting thing about this whole pandemic is that it doesn't matter how much money you have. It's in fact someone in an area that is less served and they end up getting the COVID virus. You're just as likely, you could just as easily get this virus the spread that came from wherever, and it doesn't matter. So yes, these issues are pertinent, and we all are responsible for what goes on out there.
Mm-hmm. And I can tell even to this day, even after all these years, that you're still passionate about this, that this is very, probably one of the crux of your advice to me, and has been absolutely wonderful. This has been really a fascinating conversation. And thank you so much for kind of summarizing it for us in terms of, investing in alignment with values and what's important to you, being a responsible citizen, and using that money, that leverage, as power to really effectuate change in this world. Yes. And the kind of the changes we want to see in this world. And yes, money talks, and people, and that's very clear.
Vote your money.
Vote your money. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Can I say one other thing? These are not political statements. These are just, if you look at the science, you're all people of science. These are statements that are real, and they're about human beings, and they're about the world. And so, managing money this way is in line with the UN 17 Sustainable Development Goals. It's in line with, people all around the world, and you can make money doing it, investing ethically.
Yeah, absolutely. And yes, looking out for your future, your family's future, what happens in the long term, because after 65, you're looking at probably anywhere from 15 to 25 years more. And how do you finance that? I mean, all that are important considerations. And what I'm getting from you, Andrew, is that start now, start today, whether you are just getting ready to hit the real world as an attending physician, or you've been at it for a while and your finances are you put that aside because there's so many other things going on, that it's like, okay, now is the time. Like whatever that now is, start now. It's the best to have a plan, to know what you're headed, and get the support you need to make that plan happen, because it's really hard to do it by yourself. And at the same time, there is advice out there. There are people who are knowledgeable, who know what they're doing, and who can say, look, you have like 15 years to retirement, then there's some decisions need to be made now in terms of how we're going to get there and get you there in a healthy way, in a sustainable way.
Yeah. You got it.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. This was a powerful and amazing conversation and very enlightening, and I appreciate your time. And I think that our listeners will get a lot out of this. And so how do people find out more about you? Like where would they go?
Well, they have, first of all, we have a website, ajffinancial.com. You can call us. Our number is 212-779-0789. We have a staff here. Everyone on staff is very capable of answering questions. You can call me. That's fine. I'm extension 1. You can email us. My email is andrew@ajffinancial.com. And you can follow us. We have presence on social media. We are constantly putting pieces out on there that relate to the various, whether it's on financial planning or it's on sustainability and ESG investing. There's important material that comes out all the time.
Hello, and thank you for listening. This is Amanda Taran. I'm the producer of the DocWorking podcast. If you enjoyed our podcast, please like and subscribe. We would also love it if you checked out our website, which is docworking.com. And you can also find us on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Our Instagram is DocWorking1, and that is with the number 1. When you check us out on social, please let us know what you would like to hear on the podcast. Your feedback really means a lot to us. And if you're a physician with a story to tell, please reach out to Jen at docworking.com. Thank you again, and we'll see you next time.